So another weekend of Championship Madness has just been concluded, which means it's another one of my Championship reviews today. Now obviously it's the international break which will take place in the next 2 weeks, and a bit of an update on the channel. You will see significantly less of me because I am using this time to try and get ahead into my university stuff. I will still try and post some stuff, but it would be a lot less of me in the next 2 weeks, so I can only apologise with that, guys. This is what the Lexalexus Football Prediction League is looking like. Johnny Barrett is the first person to crack the 100-point mark with 101 points now. I sit in third. I've moved up by 1 place by getting 6 points, although it really could have been more if Millwall and Murray Wallace did not get that last-minute goal. And this is what the Lexalexus Football Prediction League 1 looks like. Completely no change. But without any further ado, guys, let's start covering what we learned in match day 11 of the Championship. So we start off with Stoke and West Brom, which ended 1-0 to Stoke. West Brom have officially lost their first game of this season. And honestly with Stoke, they could have won by a cricket score. They had so many chances, but I think Stoke should have taken. They had a goal disallowed by a very dubious foul in the build-up, I've been told. Furlong would be feeling a bit fortunate that that own goal of his didn't stand. They had a free kick, Stoke, which hit off the crossbar as well. Sam Johnston made a couple of really good saves. But we thought Stoke were going to get the breakthrough when Sam Johnston conceded a penalty in the 70th minute of the game. Sam Surridge stepped up and Sam Johnston saved it. So we thought it was going to be one of those days for Stoke that it wasn't going to go away. They previously hit the crossbar twice. But what grit from Stoke to eventually get their goal. It was Nick Powell who eventually got the goal. Brilliant work actually down in the right hand side, and Stoke managing to wither his way through. He lobbed the ball over Sam Johnston into the net, making it 1-0 to Stoke. And they deserve it based on their performance. If you look at the stats, they look quite close. But in terms of shots on target, Stoke did much better. They created more. They looked a more dangerous team going forward. With West Brom, they looked like to me that they just weren't that organised defensively. They didn't look as steady. They just didn't look as prepared for this game, to be honest, and they didn't really test Stoke, which for me is a little bit concerning. It'll be interesting now to see if they can bounce back from this. They'll be probably feeling a bit grateful now that they've now got a little bit of time just to kindle and to see if they can recover their form. And what a season we're seeing from Coventry, especially at home. I backed Coventry for a win, and not many people did, but I couldn't have predicted that they would thrash Fulham by 4-1. That I couldn't expect. And are we seeing already a couple of cracks and a bit of pressure mounting on Marco Silva? We might see a little bit of pressure start to be built in. But it's Victor Gyökeres again, who is having an incredible season. He scored 2 goals. I mean, the first goal came with Fulham. It was an own goal by Carl McFadden. Good play by Mitrovic initially to force the pressure. But very fortuitous how Coventry got their equaliser. It was a mix-up at the back between Tim Wing and Josh Onuma. They just got into each other's way. Callum O'Hare pressed it. Matt Godden found Victor Gyökeres, which made it 1-1. Coventry then took the lead by winning a penalty by Anthony Robinson. Do I think it's a penalty? Nah, I think it wasn't a penalty. I think Coventry were a bit fortunate that was given for them. But it was Matt Godden who stepped up, who's very good on the spot. He scored to make it 2-1 to Coventry. Ian Maatson, former Chelsea player, he scored as well. Brilliant strike on his part and brilliant touch leading to the goal as well. Good for him to find the amount of space that he did as well. And Gyökeres again getting the 4th goal. He just found a little bit of space and just got enough contact to get the ball past Mauricio Gazzaniga to make it 4-1. Honestly, Coventry looked so dangerous, putting really dangerous crosses from Dabo into the box, and Fulham just defensively, they just did not look very ready and prepared for this. Coventry with a 100% home record to win 6 home games out of 6. I don't think that has happened very often at this stage of the season before. So this home form, Coventry will now need to try and use to try and get themselves out there. If they can improve their away form, Coventry could be a showing favourite to see if they can either stay in the top 6. I mean, what an achievement that would be for Coventry. with Fulham, they can't afford to drop too many points. They feel a bit fortunate that West Brom have also dropped points, because if they were to win, they would have definitely extended their lead from Fulham. Then to the 3 o'clock games, we'll start with Barnsley and Millwall, which ended 1-0 to Millwall. Honestly, with the quality of the game, it probably should have been a 0-0 draw like I predicted, and I did expect it to be. But overall, in terms of chances go, I can't really comment who was going to be the better team. Both teams lacking quality and confidence going forward. Afobe missing some chances. Iskea from Barnsley, their new transfer from Toulouse, missing some chances there as well. I think Barnsley probably looking the more likely to score. Millwall looked the most dangerous under set pieces, and Barnsley looked to have defended them quite well. But that goal they conceded in the 89th minute, the defending there was criminal. 89th minute corner, just a basic corner, simple delivery. Murray Wallace wins the head above everyone else to make it 1-0. They've done the job well for 89 minutes, and the fact they couldn't do it in that one moment, it does really have a couple of question marks on Barnsley and their lack of confidence. Their last 2 goals came from the penalty and a direct free kick. They're really struggling to create anything from open play pretty much since they drew 2-2 with QPR. So I'm a bit concerned with Barnsley at the moment and Marcus Schopp's future. With Millwall, they've now got 3 wins. They're up there in 11th place right now. So Millwall would definitely take that. I think if Millwall can eventually find a way to make themselves really tough to beat, Millwall are always going to be up there. It's just a matter of fact if they can take their chance. They took their chance in that game. They just need to do that for a couple more matches. And what a revival we're seeing from Nottingham Forest. They've now picked up 10 points out of 12 in their last 4 matches, with 2 wins in a row under Steve Cooper now, with a 3-0 away victory to Birmingham. I do think it is a bit of a harsh representation on the game for the whole 90 minutes, because Birmingham hit the woodwork twice. Tahith Chong had a fantastic chance when it was 0-0, and I felt if that came in, it may have been a different result. But Forest were clinical. They really, really were. Lewis Grabber with probably the goal of the weekend, just outside the box, rocket into the top left corner to make it 1-0 to Forest. Ryan Yates scored the second goal with a towering header. Brilliant bit of play on his part to make it 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. And then DJ Spence managed to score in the second half, pretty much really condoning Birmingham, to their defeat. Brilliant play once again. But Birmingham, I think, will feel a bit bereaved that they didn't get more from it. They had 9 shots on target and didn't get a single goal. Brice Samba made also a fantastic save when it was 3-0 to Nottingham Forest. So you've got to give credit to Birmingham that they really did try to reduce the deficit and get back into this. But it just wasn't their day. With Forest, if they could be as clinical as this going forward, then I think Forest can definitely recover. And who knows where they can finish. They've still got over 35 games left of the season. Forest could definitely rewrite their season, which would be an incredible comeback from them. And then the Lancashire derby between Blackpool and Blackburn ended victorious for the team in orange, Blackpool. Their first win over Blackburn since 1966, which is an unbelievable result for Blackpool. Shane Lavery got the first goal. We thought that Lenihan may have blocked it, but that block actually managed to creep over the line to make it 1-0 to Blackpool. Jerry Yates got the second goal about 20 minutes later. Good play actually by Hamilton, I believe, in the left-hand side with that cross. Header came in and Jerry Yates just did a tiny header to get the ball into the net to make it 2-0. Jerry Yates' first open play goal as well. So it's taken Jerry Yates a little bit of time for him to get settled, but fair play to him. Hopefully we can see a couple more goals from him. Blackburn frequently threatened, but they didn't really turn the screw until the second half. I think whatever Mowbray said at half-time really did set in stone for Blackburn, and they really went for it. Ben Brereton Diaz did get a goal within 5 minutes of the second half. Brilliant play by his part and terrific quality as well. Ben Brereton Diaz has just got a lot of confidence in front of goal right now. He's going to be a lethal striker this season. But unfortunately for Blackburn, they just did not find the luck and the fortune to get back into this. Defensively, Blackpool were very organised. Chris Maxwell produced an incredible save near the end of the match as well. But Blackpool also carried the threat, and I think that threw Blackburn a little bit, that it was a little bit back and forth, and Blackburn just did not get that control, and they outpossessed Blackpool as well, which really got against of their game style. They really tried to play a little bit more of the ball, which they are much better at soaking the pressure and hitting teams on the break. So naturally, it was not going to be a good combination for Blackburn. Blackpool, however, they find themselves in the top half of the table for the first time this season. And I tell you what, they've been a breath of fresh air. I've really been enjoying Blackpool at the moment. With Blackburn, their form has kind of deteriorated a little bit. Of course, this is back-to-back defeats now for Blackburn Rovers. Is this going to be the typical Mowbray now? They start well and then they go on a really poor run of form. This international break is going to be crucial for Blackburn. If they can try and find the form they had at the start of the season, then maybe this might be a different season we tend to see with Blackburn. And this win shows that why Bournemouth are top of the table right now. They beat Sheffield United after going behind by 2-1. And you've got to give Bournemouth some credit because I do think they were quite unlucky to actually be behind in this game as well. They really nullified Sheffield United for me, and I think they did a really good job at trying to narrowly edge them. But I think Sheffield United, the first time they managed to successfully get past the back line is when there was a little bit of a mistake in the back line. They just couldn't quite head the ball away from a lobbed pass. It was Billy Sharp that got away in the right-hand side, finding Morgan Gibbs right, who's a great goal scoring forward, to poke the ball into net, making it 1-0 to Sheffield United. But fair play to them. Within 6 minutes, they win a penalty. Now, the controversial thing about this one, was Dominic Solanke fouled in the box? Looking at the replay, I don't think he was. So I think it was very controversial. Undoubtedly it was a foul, but I don't think it was a penalty. But Solanke did step up. He scored to make it 1-1. And then 3 minutes later, Philip Billing, unbelievable character from Bournemouth, to get a comeback that quickly and to not feel sorry for themselves and to really attack Sheffield United like that. You've got to give him a huge amount of credit. That made it 2-1. I think Sheffield United were a bit unlucky. Lise Mousset did hit the woodwork near the end of the game. But with that, you've got to give a huge amount of credit to Scott Parker and Bournemouth. Zamora had a great chance to make it 3-1. They naturally look very dangerous. And it's a young squad for Bournemouth as well. So naturally, there could be a risk that, they can just give away one too many chances. They didn't this time. They took their chances. And they nullified Sheffield United enough to get the win. Fair play to them. With Sheffield United, they've fallen down to 14th a bit. I think they were a little bit unfortunate there. This international break, I think, can help with Sheffield United just to get some of the players recovering from their injuries, just to kind of reintroduce their match fitness a little bit. And then Cardiff are just continuously falling away, aren't they? Reading have now beaten them by 1-0. 5 defeats in a row for Cardiff City now. But look at those stats. 27 shots to Cardiff, 2 from Reading, 5 shots on target, 1 shot on target, 1-0 win to Reading. It's a typical FIFA results. It really reminds me of the opening day fixture between Birmingham and Brentford. Of course, when Birmingham got that 1-0 victory with a 0.02 XG or something. It was ridiculous. And Reading literally did score with only 1 shot on target. And it was Junior Hoylett, who previously had about 100 appearances for Cardiff. Undoubtedly, he didn't celebrate, and I don't blame him, to be honest. But it wasn't a good result at all for Cardiff. They had a couple of penalty appeals waved away. Reading really defended very, very well in this game. And I think really showed a really good amount of grit as well. And it does show this element of frustration a little bit. And that's the really worst thing you could see your football team do. So I really hope for Cardiff's sake they can really improve after the international break. Mccarthy, I think, will be under pressure. Potentially may even get sacked. 5 defeats in a row, is a very similar form to when Neil Harris got sacked, of course. So he really could be a manager in jeopardy along with Marcus Schopp during this international break. With Reading, they've really improved their chances of surviving. They're 10th place, but obviously with that 9-point deduction looming, they will find themselves in the bottom 3. But they don't have to work incredibly hard to try and reduce their deficit. On the other hand, with Derby, they draw 0-0 with Swansea. Despite being on 2 points, they still have got a lot of catching up to do, especially if they do have a further 9-point deduction. Now, if you look at the stats, undoubtedly I said Swansea were going to have most of the ball, and I was right with that. 76% of the ball. And in terms of chances go, Swansea did better. For me, I think Derby actually started better. Second half, I think Derby had the better chances. Steve Bender made a triple save at some point, and it was an unbelievable bit of goalkeeping from Steve Bender to keep the scoreline down. Derby only needed one of those chances to go in, and it would have been an entirely different game for them. But I think after that, Derby just naturally huffed and puffed and ran out of steam. Swansea then started to really make it difficult for Derby to win the ball. They started creating chances, but to only have 2 shots on target, Swansea are really, really struggling to create anything going forward. And I think they need to increase their confidence in that area if Swansea need to improve their season. I said this weekend was going to get shocks, and I did predict a couple of shock results, but I just didn't predict the correct results to have those shocks. This game, I should have predicted a shock. It ended 2-0 to Hull. Now, It was very unfair for me. It was one of those unfair results because when you look at those chances again, and a bit similar with Cardiff or Reading, quite one-sided if you can see from that in terms of Middlesbrough's favour. They only had 4 shots on target though, with that Hull having 2 shots on target, and it turned out that they got 2 goals. Now, I don't think actually their first goal would count as a shot on target because it was a known goal. It was a terrific volley by Keane Lewis-Potter, literally out of nothing. It came off the post and deflected off Joe Lumley's back into the net. Very fortuitous goal from Hull, but they wouldn't mind anyway because they need all the luck that they can get right now to try and improve their chances of survival. And naturally, I think Middlesbrough, for the fact they've fallen behind this late on, I think they really committed men forward to try and get a goal, but that left gaps in the back line. Hull win the ball in midfield, loop a great ball to find Malik Wilkes. He finds himself 1-on-1. Even with a little bit of panic, he did manage to get the ball into the net, coming in off the post, which made it 2-0 to Hull. Their second win of the season and their first win since match day 1, and that naturally has put Hull in 21st place somehow. As with Middlesbrough, they're in 15th place after their fantastic win against Sheffield United. They just really don't look like that they're a team with a lot of confidence going forward. A bit similar with the likes of Millwall and Swansea. They really need to fix that. Sporer had some great chances, which I think he should be taking. So Millwall might be another manager under pressure unless he can really sort something out. Did I say that Luton and Huddersfield will get goals in my score prediction? If we do not see goals in this game, I do not know when we'll ever see as many goals again. I'm going to go for Luton to win because I have been impressed with their home form. I'm going to go 3-1 Luton. I did, didn't I? Well, I should have naturally predicted that being a shock, to get no goals. And funnily enough, that was actually the most correctly predicted score, 0-0 in this particular game. I think Luton, had the more clear-cut chances being at home. But apart from that, no team really had too much quality going forward. I think Luton hitting the post was probably the closest that they got to scoring. Huddersfield, they only had 2 shots on target. They looked somewhat dangerous when it came to crosses and set pieces. But apart from that, it was a pretty nullified game. It was quite even when it went to possession and chances as well. So, good contest, but naturally not the best game for me to watch. Luton find themselves in 13th place. Huddersfield find themselves in 7th place. Naturally, they've just been glued to that 7th place spot at the moment. A win for them, following for the amount of top sides dropping points. Huddersfield probably would have seen them in the top 6, so a bit of a blow for Huddersfield potentially. And Peterborough now suffer their second defeat at home, with Bristol City winning by 3-2. It was an entertaining match, and that's all I could say. Any team could have won it, and I was so glued to this game. I was very impressed with Sammy Smodics. I love him as a player. I always have a soft spot for Sammy Smodics for what he did with Colchester. But actually, he scored against his former club, didn't he? He was a Bristol City player, I believe, last year as well. So Sammy Smodics actually getting the better of his former club and naturally keeping Peterborough into the game with him taking the lead, and then after Thompson got an own goal and Tanner getting the lead for Bristol City, he equalised, and great quality goals there. But naturally, Bristol City for me looked the more confident in terms of their build-up play, and I think they definitely created more going forward as well. In terms of shots on target, their goalkeeper for Peterborough had to make a lot more saves than what Daniel Bentley had to make. So for me, I definitely felt with a build-up play perspective, I thought Bristol City did better. Despite not having much of the ball as what Peterborough have done, they moved the ball better for me. So Chris Martin getting that goal, I think, was slightly deserved. Any team could have won it, really, to be honest. So maybe a draw might have been a better result. With Peterborough, they find themselves in 23rd, a bit of a blow. They were shifting up and down the table, obviously, because they were winning at one stage and then they clawed back a point and then now they lose. It's a bit of a blow, and their kryptonite is just conceding chances in their defence. They need to fix that during this international break. And what a game we saw at the Kyron Prince Foundation Stadium as well. QPR 3, Preston 2. This game was a real roller coaster as well. So, QPR took the lead with Lyndon Dykes getting the opening goal. You thought that Greg Cunningham probably did enough to defend the shot, but it wasn't quite enough. Lyndon Dykes poked the ball in to make it 1-0 to QPR. But what a comeback from Preston. Literally within a couple of minutes later, Emil Reece-Jacobson manages to get an equaliser for Preston. Fantastically worked by his part, shrugging off the defender and scoring, I believe, his 7th goal of the season. So Reece-Jacobson, for me, is a player a bit under the radar potentially, you know, with his style of play and potentially with some games with him being quite quiet. He really has had a brilliant start so far this season. And in the second half, Preston took the lead very, very quickly in the 46th minute actually. It was the first chance in the second half. It was a cross that came in which Dieng saved with his shin, but then Josh Earl just poked the rebound into the net to make it 2-1 to Preston. So this was going to be a very interesting result. But fair play to QPR, they really peppered Preston with chances. And eventually they found a bit of a breakthrough. Jimmy Dunn with an equalising goal to make it 2-2. And then within 3 minutes later, ball over Preston's defence. Preston don't really defend it well. Elias Chair in the left-hand side. Brilliant strike into the bottom right corner. I think out of all of the goals, Preston will be very disappointed how they defended the third goal. They definitely should have done better defensively for that. But QPR will take this win because following this, they're now returning into the top 6. After they had a pretty poor bit of form, they've now recovered. They're into the top 6 and I think that is what's their aim for this season. So that wraps up my reaction to Matchday 11 of the Championship. This is what the Championship table looks like. Bournemouth, the only team unbeaten in the Championship now, in first place with 25 points, a 3-point gap from West Brom and Coventry, both with 22 points. For the teams in danger, you'll be looking at Nottingham Forest, Preston, Swansea, Cardiff, only 3 points above the bottom 3, Hull just outside the bottom 3, and the teams in the bottom 3, Barnsley for the first time this season, with Peterborough and Derby with only 2 points. So now I'm going to give my player of the weekend, result of the weekend and goal of the weekend. I'll go through goal of the weekend first. A couple of really good options there. I want to include Keane Lewis' Potter's goal for the comedy side of it, but I'm going to give it to Lewis grabbing the strike against Birmingham. It broke the deadlock and since then Nottingham Forest had a bit of a confidence in their stride. My player for the weekend's very tricky too, but I'm going to give it to Victor Gyökeres. I can't remember if this is the first time I've given Gyökeres my player for the weekend, but he definitely deserves one if he has not been awarded one yet. To score a brace against Fulham and for how involved he was in that whole entire game, he deserves my player for the weekend. And result of the weekend, naturally, he's going to go to that game. Coventry 4, Fulham 1. An unbelievable result from any sort of fan watching the Championship. But that'll wrap it up for watching today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it. It does really help the channel. Let's try and push to 800 subscribers as soon as we can. And please share this video and this channel to as many people as you can. All of that really helps. But that was all. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary. This is the end of this video. And as always, I'll hopefully see you guys very soon. Take care.